Hello and welcome to Business Track, a program that takes you through financial happenings within the country and around the world. My name is Chinemerem Joseph. On the program today, we will be discussing issues surrounding the directive by President Muhammadu Buhari to the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to immediately release the second tranche of the London-Paris Club loan refund to states. According to a statement by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, the president spoke while addressing a meeting of the National Economic Council at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Well, the council is made up of state governors and chaired by the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo. The first tranche of 388 billion naira was released to the state governments in December 2016. And according to the president, the latest release was meant to ease the financial hardship of states. He also stressed the need for the state governors to ensure the settlement of unpaid salaries and pension arrears of their workers with the funds. However, reactions have trailed President Muhammadu Buhari's order on the release of the second tranche of the Paris Club refund to state governors. How well have these governors used this fund? Not forgetting the bailout funds that were also disbursed to some governors who met the stipulated conditions. My guest, Emmanuel, a business expert, is already seated with me in the studio to discuss this and more on the program. But let's first let's visit the newsroom and see what happened in the business world last week. Well, preparatory to the meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, which commences today, a retreat was held on Friday and Saturday for fiscal and monetary authorities, which included the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udoma, and the Minister of Industries, Trade and Investment, Oke Ngalama. The retreat also had in attendance members of the academia, which included professors of economics, senior bankers, and MPC members. The purpose of the meeting was to widen the consultation of MPC on monetary policy initiatives and ensure harmonization between the fiscal and monetary authorities. Their meeting, which started on Friday and continued on Saturday, will now inform what will be discussed at the MPC meeting today. Meanwhile, the MPC begins its two-day meeting today, Monday, and analysts believe that adjustments to the policy rates is not likely to be on the card. This is because, while the current macroeconomic indicators are favorable, it is necessary to monitor the trend in the coming months before taking a policy decision. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBC, says that inflation rate has dropped to 17.78% in February, 0.94% below 18.72% in January this year. The Bureau said the decline represents the first-time drop in 15 months, following slower rises in food and non-food prices. The latest reports by MBS disclosed that inflation rate over the 15 months continued to accelerate, given increased prices on housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuel, education, food and alcoholic beverages, clothing and footwear, and transportation services. According to MBS, the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, increased by 17.78% year-on-year, albeit at a slower pace in February 2017. And then, following the unnecessary tension generated as a result of misconception and misrepresentation of the Nigeria Customs Service planned motor duty payment, the leadership of the National Assembly and the Comptroller General of Customs, talking about Colonel Hamid Ali retired, met with a view to resolving the impasse. They both agreed that the proposed motor duty payment, though in line with the provision of Customs and Excise Management Act, SEMA, Cap C 45 LFN 2004, should be put on hold while the Senate Committee on Customs and Excise interfaces with the Customs Service for further discussions. But while payment of duty on vehicles or indeed any dutiable imported item remains a civic responsibility of every patriotic Nigerian, the Customs Management has directed that the exercise be put on hold while expressing readiness to engage the Senate committee on further discussions to bring them on board to understand the importance of the exercise to the national security and economy. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ibeka Chukwu, has stressed the need for developing quality capacity in the oil and gas sector. He spoke in Abuja while he met with members of the Oil and Gas Trainers Association of Nigeria. The minister says a lot needs to be done to develop local content in this sector as well as attracting investment. Our correspondent Ajek Mangut was at that meeting and brings us the report.
The need to build capacity and improve local content in the oil and gas industry is what informed this gathering of stakeholders in the sector. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, represented by the Director of Planning, Research and Statistics in the ministry, says when laws like the Petroleum Industry Bill come into play, Nigerians will need training and retraining to handle key positions in the oil industry in the country.
Part of what will result from it is a series of activities that will be scaled up in the upstream, midstream, and downstream sector. It will obviously also lead to greater investments in these sectors. And greater investment means greater job opportunities and the need to train more Nigerians, not just to take up positions, but to replace foreigners.
For the stakeholders here, Nigeria loses a lot of money in building capacity through training abroad. It wants trainings to be done in the country as a way of improving local content in the sector.
Taking Nigerian trainees, taking Nigerian personnel to Ghana with Nigerian instructors, with Nigerian participants to Ghana to train is, it's something that government must stop, because that boosts the economy of Ghana. And the only simple reason why people do that is because they want to get extra code. And we are, because of that, running down our own economy.
The Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, however, says training in the country is a long shot and could only be achieved if the necessary measures are put in place.
Like you know, the industry is an evolving one. They might be here today, tomorrow. What is required is different. It's the ability to also measure up with current requirements in the oil and gas industry. So there is work that needs to be done. Nobody is perfect.
The stakeholders here have also called on the government to partner with key players in the petroleum industry in the development of host communities in the Niger Delta.
If you just joined us, you're watching Business Track live on Silverbird Television, Abuja. And just like I said earlier on the program today, we will be discussing issues surrounding the directive by President Muhammadu Buhari to the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to immediately release the second tranche of the London-Paris Club loan refund to states. And to discuss further on the London-Paris Club loan refunds with me on the program today is Emmanuel, a business expert. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's start from here. After that, after the directive by the president, so many reactions came out. This is the second tranche. We had the first tranche, and this is the second. And then we've also had series of bailout funds to states. Could you quickly react to these monies that are being churned out to states? By juxtaposing their utilization of these funds.
The only thing you've not added is that today the Federation Account Allocation Committee is meeting. So it's more money for them, left, right, and center. But again, unfortunately, the impact of all these resources is not being felt because the workers continue to be owed, and the indications are not that they would deploy the resources to the objectives that have been set out. So, and the critical issue is, like we once discussed, and after that, the Minister of Finance summoned some courage to withhold Ekiti State funds, but in less than 48 hours, they were released back to Ekiti State. But again, two things I need to say immediately. One, we're already in 2019. March.
That's the election year.
Election year. Otherwise, the order of the president, immediate effect and all that. You know, the governors gave it to them. They are very, very, very powerful. So we're already in an election year. Otherwise, I think the way to go would have been hold them to account for what they already have received. But you are giving them so much money, 500 billion again. And you know the controversies about the first release. The governors about 4 governors, I understand, who were in the thick of it, who controlled everything. It's the margin they were going to pay to the consultants who supposedly handled the negotiations for them. I read the press statement from the NGF, the Nigerian Governors Forum, and I'm not impressed. We know, I maintain a column with several newspapers on budget transparency and other issues. We know the truth about what happened, the margin which some of these governors have played around and they have walked away with.
You know, I'm actually wondering who performs this, who perform checks on these governors, you know, because every day we hear complaints about payment of salaries. These salaries are not settled, and then monies are released to them on virtually on a monthly basis. So who is performing checks on the governors?
State houses of assembly are supposed to hold the governors accountable. But unfortunately for us, I'll mention this because I had an interview for my program with the SA prosecutor to Mr. President, Barrister Obla, and he made a categorical allegation against the governor of Cross River State that of the bailout fund, which again is the subject of our discussion, that the governor of Cross River State, Senator Ben Ayade, paid 4 billion into his junior brother's account. 4 billion. Can
you prove that, or is
no,
an
no, no,
alleged
the EFCC is on it, and what he said, the interview is on net. You can, yeah, the EFCC is charging the governor's brother to court, and again, the Cross River State, you have pensioners, you have workers crying. That's
protesting
protesting. That's also out in the media. So the state houses of assembly, their capacity, they are weak in terms of capacity. They are also weak. And again, when they had the opportunity to have financial autonomy, first line charge, they rejected it. They voted against it. And so they continue to be tied to the whims and caprices of governors. So long as that remains, so long as, again, we have charlatans in the various state houses of assembly, unable to question the governors, so long will we continue to have problem. Ordinarily, the federal government, what they are trying to do, it's not their duty. But again, when there is crisis, the federal government is the one that has to bail out the states and so on. So Kemi, the Minister of Finance, took it upon herself, and she thought she was dealing with gentlemen. They signed off. But after signing off on milestones, the 22 plan, yes, milestones that they will reach, that they will try to achieve. Yeah. They reneged on those timelines. Publish do biometric, get your biometric right, do IPSAS compliant budget, which again the federal government was supposed to develop the software and give to the states. Improve on your IGR. In all this madness, I don't see Ambode coming to Abuja for any meeting. His Commissioner for Finance and Accountant General can afford to stay away from FAC meeting today. They can afford to. They don't need bailout in any form, because their IGR is doing wonderfully well.
Are you trying to say they do not need the allocation from the
They can function, but without it. But if Nasarawa State does not come for this, and they don't credit them, they'll feel it. They'll feel it.
So are you trying to say now the viability of some of these states? So are we saying that some of these states shouldn't have been created in the first place? Because I think that's where we have the bulk of the challenge. They can't generate in a reasonable internal revenue to take care of some of their needs.
No, so long as we practice the kind of system we practice, which is not, we are not practicing true federalism, like many people would argue. And again, so long as even the windows of opportunity, like what Kemi Adeosun has done, the Minister of Finance, what she has done now is, in a sense, true federalism. Now we are talking physical federalism. Get yourself off, I call it a bloodline. They are continuously on blood from FAC and bailout. So many of them, they don't lose their sleep doing anything about their IGR. And these are some of the timelines, some of the milestones they are supposed to do. Kaduna has done a wonderful job in terms of reworking the laws first, and then merging. So you pass through Kaduna, all those things you see, local government officials coming to shops to lock up shops and collecting taxes on the road and all that is a thing of the past. And last month, the figure was in the region of 1.6 billion. So that's the way to go. Unless states like Nasarawa, Kebbi State, and Ekiti State, and all these other states realize that it's in their own interest. You don't need Kemi really to be breathing down your neck to do biometric. Delta State cannot justify the wage bill of 6 billion. You can't justify that.
You know, some people were asking that the case of Ekiti State could have a political undertone. Now, we have the governor there from the PDP, and then the federal government, that's the APC, and then probably what played out then? Some thought it was some political gimmicks.
No, in one of my articles, the bailout funds, I did say, will Kemi get the much needed support that she needs, the political will on the part of government? But like I said, 2 incidents in the last few days will tell you we're already in 2019. The leak of the El-Rufai memo to Mr. President, it's all part of positionings, blackmailing, white-mailing, positioning, and all that. And then now the president himself in his meeting telling CBN, credit the states immediately. Adeosun, do all within your power to make sure they get this money, because we're already in 2019. So whatever, I don't see, there's no hope that anybody will be a check on the governors. I don't see nobody, not the federal government, not the state houses of assembly, except themselves. They decide to check themselves.
Well, just like myself, so many people are also hoping that the Minister of Finance is not leaving the states like that, because these are loans, or the bailout funds are monies that they should pay back at a certain point. People are hoping that the states who are collecting, the minister is also ensuring that they meet the standard, and then they can pay back these loans. Otherwise, they dish out these sanctions to the states.
Politics will always, at the end of the day, be overriding. When the time comes, maybe then we will be in election proper, and if the president is running or whoever is running, would have to come to terms with certain political realities, and then they would find a way of staggering it again or writing it off eventually. So not much would happen in regards to whether they meet the criteria in the first place, paying back. Okay, when they cry again to Mr. President, He will release. He will find money for them.
Okay, just before we go, I want a quick one. I want you to react to the drop in the inflation rate. We're on 18 point something, now we're on 17.78.
Marginal.
Yes, a marginal decrease.
Yep.
Are we going to see the reduction? Are we going to start seeing reduction in the prices of some food, some commodities in the market?
Well, somebody has. I read somebody saying the CBN funding of the forex is not sustainable. Be that as it may, for now, I think. We are going to witness a further drop, depending on if the government is able to sustain what is been doing, not just intervention in the market. Again, because your intervention has to come from production. So for now, the Niger Delta is calm.
Yeah.
So can we meet? We've never met 2.2 million barrels, never. But the scandal is that we don't even know since 2015, and that's in the National Assembly. Since 2015, we don't know what we have been exporting, which is a pity. But so long as we are doing well, and then I think
we're hopeful.
We are hopeful, and then the agriculture.
As in terms of diversification of the economy, we've actually been looking out and expecting that the government really looks into that sector. Although people have said it's not just agriculture that can take us, that can bring up the economy, can make the economy resilient. We need to look at some other sectors that can also grow the economy. Well, that's the size of our package for today. We've been speaking to Emmanuel Ado, a business expert, on the recent London Paris Club loan refund to states. Let's now leave you with graphic details of some transactions within the country. Thank you for being a part of the program Business Track, and don't forget to join us again same time next week. I am Emmanuel Joseph.